All right guys, so we're out here on the water today, and of course we are going to be doing some test casting of the new CLAMBER 2.0 from Ifishband. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast only 2 lures, and those are going to be my favorite trout jerkbaits, the Lucky Craft Pointer 48 and then the Duo Spearhead Ryuki 50 Suspend. So we're going to have a roughly 3.3 gram lure and then a 2.3 gram lure. So nothing super light, but we're just going to get a feel of the brakes. And if you remember from the tabletop unboxing, the brakes seem pretty strong. So I'm going to, I guess, try to make a determination if they are prohibiting this reel from casting at its full potential, or they could be just fine. And then we're going to do a little, I guess, measured cast battle against the 2020 Alpha's Air TW, a reel that a lot of people probably forgot even existed in the bait finesse world due to all the awesome releases that have come out since then. But we're going to bring that out and we're going to do a little measured cast battle with the line counter, and we're going to see what's up. So let us begin. Okay, so let's go over the rod and line I'm going to be using for this test. We have the Ace Hawk CU Double with the light tip, so that means it's got a rating of 2 to 6 grams. I have 4-pound mono filled all the way to the top. Now the line lay on this CLAMBER 2.0 is very much like a DAIWA, and hopefully you guys can see out in the sun. You can really tell that this CLAMBER 2.0 is very subtle in its, I guess, styling and coloration. But we're going to start off with the heavier lure first, the Duo Spearhead Ryuki 50 Suspend. It's about 3.3 grams on the scale. And let's set this reel up. Now I'm going to set the spool tension to minimize the side-to-side play and then back it off like 1 click. Now one thing I did notice about the spool tension is that the closer you get to minimizing the side-to-side play, the harder it is to turn. But there, I got the spool tension set just right. We're going to start off with the brakes on maximum. And let's check out this fall. Super slow fall. And that's with just a hint of side-to-side play on the spool tension. So I predict these brakes are going to be just fine. In the strength department, that is. Because if you've tested as many AliExpress Chinese bait finesse reels as I have, you'll know that the first concern you'll have is that if the brakes are going to be strong enough. All right, so we'll start casting. All right. Casting is smooth enough. There's a little bit of noise, but one thing I can report that with these brakes on maximum, it's not really affecting, I guess, the accuracy and pulling the lure off to the left. It's going right where I'm aiming it. So that's good. Now, if you'll remember, the, I guess, free spool time was not very impressive when I tested it at home, but a lot of times that doesn't really translate to performance out on the water or how it's going to be. But distance that I'm getting is probably about 45 feet. The retrieve is smooth. I can feel the gears a little bit of gear mesh. But it's definitely a very solid reel. No noises when retrieving this little jerk bait. All right, let's do some overhead. Okay, no problems there. I'm watching this spool, and of course there's not a hint of overrun or any kind of loops. All right, so distance with overhead cast is about the same as a sidearm. I'll do a few more and let you guys observe where it's landing, because you can use it as a reference to when I lower these brakes to see how much extra distance we're going to gain. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that the thumb bar is getting wet, and my thumb does tend to slip at the end of the cast or during my cast stroke. It's not affecting the cast at all, but it's something that I don't really feel with other reels. It's kind of a new experience that I can remember. All right, so let me back these brakes down to as low as they'll go before the spool blows up, and I'm going to count how many clicks I can back the brakes off, and I'll show you guys what it can do. Okay guys, so I was actually able to turn the brakes down 10 clicks from maximum. So if you remember, this reel has like a total of 39 settings, so that's about a 25% reduction in brakes. And on this setting, there are a few little loops during the cast, but they work themselves out, so I am pretty much on the limit of the brake setting for this particular lure. And keep in mind, we have perfect wind conditions, so if any kind of wind kicks up and comes in towards me, it could blow the spool up. Let me show you what the CLAMBER 2.0 can do now. And of course, just as I say that, the wind starts to kick up. Let me let it die down. Okay, so I think the wind's died down enough. Let me show you what this CLAMBER 2.0 can do now. Boom. Hopefully you guys saw that. I'll do a few more and then I'm gonna talk about it. Oh shoot. Must have been a gust of wind, but the spool blew up. So I am literally on the limit of the brakes, and that was a pretty bad blow up, but it looks like, did some line get caught in between the spool and the frame? Yeah. Now this is 4-pound mono, but some line did get caught up between the spool and the frame on that cast. Not too bad, it didn't wrap itself around the spool. You just kind of poke through, but that's another concern when it comes to BFS reels, not just from China either, but from Japan as well. Okay, so since the wind is inconsistent, I'm going to turn the brakes up 1 click, so that means 9 clicks from maximum. Hopefully that'll solve that issue, but here we go. Pow! I think I could go back down 1 click, but right there I probably gained at least another 10 foot, maybe 12 foot in casting distance. Over the maximum brake setting. And another thing that I noticed is that the pow, damn, almost reached the other side of the little cove there. But another thing that I noticed is that of course the spool is going to spin faster, but it seems to cast smoother Boom. Hopefully you guys saw that, but it seems to cast smoother in the lower brake setting. I'm going to try to cast onto that dark section. So turning these brakes down really freed up the casting feel. I had a little bit of a overrun on that cast. It's probably my fault. Inconsistent cast stroke, but let's do some sidearm. Oh wow. Kind of funny with the sidearm, I'm getting some overrun. Distance is about the same, but these appear to be, I don't know, fairly low trajectory casts, but the reel feels very, very free casting. Does not feel over braked at all. Pow! That is probably went out there almost 30 yards. Boom. All right, we'll do one more overhead cast, then we're going to tie on the smaller lure, and then we're going to get to the cast battle. Here we go. So yeah, I'm actually really surprised. I thought these brakes were just going to choke off any kind of casting performance from this CLAMBER 2.0, but apparently I was wrong. All right, so we switched up to the 2.3 gram Lucky Craft Pointer 48, suspending. And we're gonna crank these brakes up all the way to the maximum setting. And let's just cast a few times. All right, so with this lighter lure on max brake setting, it does affect the accuracy. So I'm casting this way and the lure is going off to the right by like 5 foot of where I'm aiming. And of course there's some wind going from my right to my left affecting that as well, but no biggie. I can just adjust a little bit or turn the brakes down. Let's do some overhead. All right, so we're probably getting about, what, a little over 30 feet, maybe 35 feet consistently, same spot we're hitting. And literally on max brake setting, you can cast thumb free. Just watch. That's the thing with magnetic brakes, especially these static mag track style. So if you're the kind of person that likes to set your spool tension to when the lure hits the ground, you have a couple of loops, you got to do that on either the maximum or minimum setting, because they're going to give you two different results. But yeah, pretty much thumb free on max brake. Very acceptable distance. All right, let's turn these brakes down. All right, guys, so the minimum brake setting I could do without having an overrun is just like with the Spearhead, and that's 10 clicks from maximum. And that's usually the case for reels with magnetic brakes, is that the minimum brake setting for one lure is going to be the minimum brake setting for all lures, no matter the weight. That's just what I've observed, but check this out, guys. Boom. So we probably gained, it looked like on some of these casts I did off camera, maybe almost double the casting distance. At least 15 feet, but it appeared to be almost double on some of them. but that's going out there probably at least 70 feet or maybe 25 yards. Boom, that was a long cast, but I did blow the spool up. So while I'm casting this around, let's talk about another reel that I had planned to do a casting video on, and that's going to be that Lingle 2. So I brought the Lingle 2 out to this very same cove. Boom. And one thing I noticed was that the spool bearings were extremely loud and rough. Extremely loud and rough. And I felt that it hindered the performance of that Lingle 2. And if you remember, the Lingle 2 has the ceramic hybrid spool bearings as stock. Boom. So that kind of shows you that just because a reel has ceramic hybrid bearings doesn't mean that they're quality bearings. So I've been debating, I've been debating on probably flushing out those bearings and redoing the test, but the thing is I've never done that with any other reel, so it kind of be unfair analysis of the Lingle over any other reel that I've done. And what I also wanted to do is I wanted to put it up against the Valiant Eagle 2, and what I also wanted to do was I wanted to put it up against the Valiant Eagle 2 from KASTKING. So that means I would have to flush the Valiant Eagle's bearings. Which I don't mind doing, but I don't know, I'm debating on whether I want to do that or not. But man, this CLAMBER 2.0, very impressive, at least in isolation. Keep in mind, you may think you have a fast car until you take a ride in a real fast car, and that changes your perceptions. But yeah, with this pointer 48, 2.3 grams, probably at 25 yards, easy. So this reel, I mean, is super beginner friendly. I mean, all the way up to the limit. You're not gonna have any issues. Super easy to set up. And once again, if you want this reel, I'm gonna leave a link to Don Kuhn Fishing, who sent this reel to me, and you can pick one up there. Boom, look at that. All right, so now that we've established that this CLAMBER 2.0 is legit, let's get to the cast battle against the Alpha's Air.